We back in Brothers from Inglewood, live again, fresh podcast. Just want to say thanks for stopping by. We got a hot topic today in the studio with Charley Mack, and we're looking forward to just, chopping it up a little bit. And before I introduce the topic, I want to let Charley Mack holler at you.
How you guys doing out there? We back again. We're going to go ahead and give it to you guys raw and uncut as we do. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the topic. This is something that I think everybody can relate to. I definitely can, and I know my brother can. So without further ado, guys, go ahead and strap those seatbelts on. We're going to get this car spinning.
Yes,
get
sir.
it going.
Yes, sir. Well said. Well said. It's interesting because I think we're going to create some traction and dialogue about this particular subject. I want to introduce the subject. It's sort of like in a question, but what has it been like after a year into the pandemic? It's been actually a year.
Yeah.
This month, March, marks a year that we've been dealing with COVID-19. I got mixed emotions about it, although I'm confident in, my belief system. I'm not saying I'm a doctor or a scientist,
right.
But I paid attention to CDC, and I felt like the least that I can do is follow those guidelines.
Right.
And fortunately, it has worked, thus far, keeping social distance and also avoiding crowds,
Right.
and so on, and so, washing your hands, sanitizing, and things like that. And it's been different, So if I'm able to, I just kind of want to ask you, what were you doing prior to the pandemic, and what happened in the pandemic? Or we're still in the pandemic,
Right.
But
It's a little looser now.
right. So what were you doing before the pandemic?
I mean,
And I know you because you always wash your hands.
Yeah. I was getting ready to say, pre-pandemic, for me, it wasn't really a big deal, when it first happened, and they was, suggesting that people should, wash their hands and do this and do that. I mean, I'm already OCD, and everybody who knows me, they know that I'm OCD, and I'm a super, super clean guy in terms of hygiene and washing my hands and a lot of the stuff like that. So it's funny because, I always, it's so funny because pre-pandemic, before it happened, I was always that guy who would be in restaurants and I would be in places, and I always felt like the servers should have their face covered. Because you have to understand, they bring your food, and they're sitting there, there's 4 or 5 of you guys at the table, and they're sitting there, and they're like, okay, who gets the cheeseburger? Who gets the salad? Who gets this? And they hawking all in your food. So I've always felt like, like servers should have their mouth cut. I used to tell servers, hey, check it out.
Because they're talking over
Sit mine down.
Right, because
I don't need you talking over mine. All them particles dropping in my stuff. Hey,
right.
Check it out. Sit mine down.
I got you. I
So,
never thought about
I'm
that.
telling you, so I always felt like servers should have their mouth covered. And I'm, like I said, I'm OCD like that. So when people would come, and I've been like this for decades.
Yes, yeah.
When the servers would bring your food.
Since we were kids.
And they do it. Okay, who gets this? Okay, who gets that? Okay, who gets this? And they gonna sit it. Dude, really? So for me, that wasn't a big deal in terms of that, But was it life changing? Yeah, it changed all of our lives.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Put
it's
mine down. Set mine on the table. I don't need you hawking in mine, and I don't need you hawking over mine, dude. Sit mine down. I don't need that in my life.
No, I got you because you were that way when we were kids.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't like anybody sneezing around you, coughing, runny nose.
Man, take that to the bathroom and blow your stuff, Cameron.
No, I get that. I
Right.
totally get it. And I guess because of the culture, you get used to certain things, whereas that was always keen for you because you were aware of particles, germs, and you were sensitive to that. I was similar, but more so about my surroundings.
Okay.
I'm still that way. If you got anything on your floor in a restaurant or a cafe, I'm cool. I'm not eating. If I look back there and I see that your area where you're making the food,
The prep area.
and you got lettuce in the mayonnaise and you got tomatoes in the peas, I'm done.
Yeah, I know.
I'm canceling my order. I'm done. I can't eat in your establishment.
Right.
If you're a cook and you're wiping your hands on your apron as you're preparing,
man.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want nothing from your spot.
Yeah.
So I think in that aspect, I began to understand a little clearer why it was important to consistently wash your hands, use clean utensils, and so on and so on. And I don't know if this ever happened to you, but it happened to me a few times. And the last time it happened, it was on seafood.
Okay.
Bro, I got food poisoning.
Oof.
And
Was it food poisoning or was it just an upset stomach? Because sometimes
no.
people confuse food poisoning with like, oh, I got a little achy stomach. Food poisoning is when it got to come out.
no, food poisoning.
Okay.
And that's when this happened in 2012.
Okay.
And I just stopped eating fried fish.
Oh wow.
Because it happened at a
spooked
particular
you.
it happened at a particular fish market. But what happened was the fish was bad and the grease that they were cooking it in was bad.
Probably old grease.
And I was sick as a dog. I was sick for like 9 days.
Oh wow.
I mean, I couldn't get
keep
out of
nothing
bed.
down?
Couldn't
Really?
keep-
wow.
Over there with the dry heaves,
Oh,
because
wow.
nothing is down. So I'm like,
Oh, wow.
I was really messed up.
Oh man.
And so I think of those situations along with the pandemic, and then I say to myself, a lot has changed for me naturally. Meaning, I'm not able to work out inside of
Right.
gyms.
Right.
I mean, they've been opening up here and there,
Right.
but that changed. And
Right.
then working in the community of sports. You're not able to go to the high schools or
Right.
middle schools because
Right.
they're closed.
Right.
So it really hurt me financially, and it also hurt me from the aspect of sharing my gift,
Right.
doing what I do,
Right.
going places,
Right.
traveling over the country.
Right.
So
right.
I mean, a lot changed, and now that we're a year in, it doesn't seem like it's going away, but also it doesn't seem like we're going back to the
Right.
norm.
Right.
So I mean, I'm affected in that aspect because now you got to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It actually has, in a lot of ways, it's kind of helped because I don't think it'll ever be I don't think it'll ever go back to where servers are bringing your food without their covering.
Oh yeah.
I don't think it'll ever go back to them taking off their covering. I think that'll probably stay
Okay. Yeah.
for a long time.
Yeah.
But also, it's actually made. I think it's kind of. This is interesting. I think it's kind of brought a little bit more racism in play because the media
Okay.
was always, pumping this thing about the black community and the Latino community, and we're more subject to get it, and so now,
I see what you're saying.
when I'm out working out and I'm doing my walking, and I'm always in neighborhoods that's other. They damn near start running when they see me
like
walking.
you got it.
Like I got it.
Yeah.
And it starts to make you feel a little insecure. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why they looking, And that's the sad part, that sometimes the media, a lot of times the media can take you up and they can also bring you down.
Oh yeah.
And everybody, you have a lot of people out there that listen to these conspiracy theorists and,
Yeah.
and they're in their head with their own thing, and they believe everything that they read and everything
Yeah.
that they see.
Yeah.
And but yeah, man, it's actually made a little shift in the uncomfortability of the blacks and others, man.
Yeah.
I mean, they looking at us like we're the carriers.
Yeah, I got you. No, I I agree with you because when it first hit, remember how the retail stores and the markets, they were like really got to line up.
Right.
Only so many people can come. You can only buy so many
Right.
items.
Right.
It seems like when I was going to certain stores, and I'm not going to say the names of them, but, bro, they was looking at me like, what are you doing here? Like, you're the reason why we're in the pandemic.
Exactly.
I can feel that
No,
energy.
I know.
I really felt, and I'm not going to lie, at first it made me feel bad.
Right.
Because I was like, wow, I felt like I was 7 years old again.
Right.
How can this person be so cruel?
Right.
And I started to look at, really, it was coming from a mindset of superiority, privilege, and then also frustration. Like, they needed somebody to blame.
To vent. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that changed a perception that I had as it related to stronger equality. I saw the difference in this hidden racism versus public
upfront racism.
Exactly. Like in southern states.
Yeah.
You go in southern states, and I'm not glorifying racism or anything, but it's a fact. You go in some southern states and you kind of know your place.
Heck yeah, you better know your place.
You come to California, they'll smile, they'll wave, they'll even nod, but at the end of the day, they may have the ability to just say, well, cancel him. If he comes up here, you've run out.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there's, those are the same ones that are smiling in your face.
Right.
So I think I was dealing with the economic downturn. I was dealing with the social limitations and restrictions that we experienced because, and maybe you can run from here with this. It started affecting relationships.
Oh man, come on.
I mean, I didn't have a girlfriend.
Right.
I don't have one, so I didn't have that significant other.
Yeah.
However, I saw it hinder even potential dating and all that.
Yeah.
Remember, nobody was like, it was like, no, I ain't going nowhere. I ain't,
And that's the sad part, because you're right. It did hinder a lot of relationships. I mean, you had a lot of relationships where people wasn't used to being around their significant other every day, all day.
Ooh.
So in that aspect, a lot of people, in relationships, they ended up, with the screw face and frowning up and getting into arguments and attitudes because they had to share that space 24/7, where both of them probably were working from home. And even right now, you still got relationships and people that's still working from home with their significant others. So it did change a lot.
Yeah.
And it did change a lot in terms of the dating thing too. I mean, it stopped that as a whole.
Yeah, it did.
There were people that were so paranoid
and cautious
about, like, oh, I'm not going to go out and I'm going to end. Like I said, man, the media perpetuated a lot of this insecurity and a lot of the paranoia,
fear,
and they did, and they're the ones that was driving people to the stores and buying out everything. Let me tell you something, man. It was sad. You had people standing in the line at the gun stores, thinking that, okay, I guess it's gonna be the end of the world. It's gonna get to the point where people are just breaking in people's houses.
I remember that.
Just a mass hysteria. That's crazy.
I remember that.
I'm looking at the news. I'm saying to myself, what are they at the gun store for?
It was going up.
I mean, do you really think this thing is going to get that bad to where we're in like a third world country where people are breaking in houses? I mean, they buying up all the ammunition. I mean, that's the mentality of certain people.
Well, it goes back to what you said. Racism.
Man.
It went to, let's defend
what we have.
Because these blacks or
these
these
heathens,
others are going to come after us. And I'm not stereotyping. I'm just speaking from the real.
From how you feel.
Right, because a lot of times, people were always buying guns.
Right.
But you're right, it spiked in a way during that time of this introduction to the pandemic, and it was almost like, I'm gonna be ready.
It was on the it was on the news.
I'm gonna be ready.
Yeah.
So
thinking like, what the heck? They buying up guns and why?
Right. So being that we were unaware, we didn't have the whole story as to how this pandemic came about,
right?
How it works, who was susceptible of catching it,
Right.
and so on. But getting to that relational part of it, whereas it affects us economically, socially, and now we have to deal with all of that stuff that we didn't talk about before the pandemic. Why? Because I'm with you 24/7. I got a lot more time.
Now you're forced to listen.
Now we got to talk about this.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna kid you, man. It was a couple of guys I talked to, man. Marriage was on the rocks.
Oh no. I know a guy personally. Marriage was over.
Wow.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah,
like,
marriage
dude,
was
like
on the
that?
rocks,
Yeah,
man.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because even though people are married, people have their own individual lives, and especially when you've been with someone for a long time, people enjoy their space.
Yeah.
People enjoy hanging out with their friends, and all that ended. There was no more of the fellas meeting at the local bar having a beer. There was no more of the women meeting for book club and meeting for a cocktail.
Yeah.
It was none of that. Right. All that stuff was shut down for a long time.
It really was.
And people kind of had, like you said, people had to kind of reinvent themselves and come up with clever ways to try to have some sort of camaraderie with one another. But it was bad.
Some type of coexistence.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing was this that I thought about in the pandemic. It really motivated me to delve further into technology.
Okay.
Not only did I have the time to do it, but I wanted to learn a little bit more, because moving forward, we're a year in, and moving forward, it doesn't seem like we're going to get back the normalcy of how we did certain things.
No, I don't think it'll ever be 100% normal.
Right. I think what we're experiencing or have experienced in the past year is what a lot of, and I just want to, say, it like this. A lot of people who were technologically advanced were already doing and pushing for society, the rest of society, to say, come along. Yeah, they were saying, come along. So now you got people who have been doing this, honestly, man, for really the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And it could be longer than that. I think it is longer than that, because they really got into what they consider as computer science.
Right.
And technology it flourished.
Right.
And I don't know if we don't learn some fundamental aspects of technology, if we're gonna even be able to stay with the class.
Right.
We're gonna have to really delve into that. So that was impactful to me.
Right.
The other thing I want to ask you too is, now that we're here and it's been a year, and we're looking, it's not even post-pandemic,
right?
Because we don't even know when we're coming out of this thing, right?
Right.
Obviously, we've gained new information and things of that nature. Do you foresee us creating avenues for success in your field that you work in? You're in transportation, you're in customer service. Do you think in any kind of way, because it seems like, listening to, some of the things that you've accomplished, it doesn't seem like you took much of a hit in your industry.
It's funny. I did take a hit. Okay. And I'm still taking a hit, but
okay,
with anything, and we talked about it, you have to learn how to pivot and move and reinvent yourself.
Got you.
I know a lot of people, and we both know a lot of people who were in certain parts of the industry and certain parts of life, but life changes. Yeah. The industry changes, everything changes, and if you don't change with it, you're going to be left behind.
I got you.
So when the pandemic hit with me, I had to say, well, dang, what can I do? I can't do the same things that I was doing pre-pandemic because you can't anymore.
I got you.
So, let me put my thinking cap on and let me reinvent myself and go down another avenue.
Okay.
And that's what I did. It took me probably 2 months into the pandemic to kind of reinvent myself, but I did.
Good. See, you were always resourceful.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, that's a natural gift, an attribute. It's like innate.
Yeah.
Some things you don't have to go into a lab and research.
Yeah.
You don't have to get a bunch of books and just
Yeah.
figure it out. I think that's just a part of how you're wired. Because so many people just was like out of the industry, dude.
Yeah.
They're not in transportation anymore.
Yeah. And then they were afraid, this person's I'm gonna get sick. That's the one thing I never feared.
Okay.
Because I as long as someone got in my car with a mask on, and I had my mask on,
You sprayed your stuff
what you
down
gonna give
already.
me?
Right.
I mean, I washed my hands. I put the hand sanitizer on.
Right.
No germ. Because the only way you can get this thing is the germs coming out of your mouth if you're in close proximity with this person. But if their mouth is covered, then you're safe.
Okay.
I saw people riding around with like plastic in the back. I said, look, man, if I got to drive around like that, I'm just not going to drive. I just stay home.
I got you.
I'm not that paranoid when it comes down to
I got you.
things like that. And another thing about me, my belief system is whatever's in the cards for you, it's in the cards.
Yeah.
It's nothing you can do to get away from it. If it's in the cards,
That's your destiny.
it's in the cards.
Yeah. I got you.
So that's how I live my life like that. One
you.
day at a time, and I just live my life like, hey, whatever's in the cards for me is in the cards for me.
Got you.
I ain't gonna walk out in the middle of the street and just wander out there like I ain't gonna get hit. I ain't gonna do nothing stupid. But like I said, whatever's in the cards, man, it's in the cards.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, hopefully this topic will create more dialogue within the community as well as couples.
Yeah.
Even, fathers, sons, daughters, mothers, and vice versa. Just a family, period. I think, communication is fundamental and it's always necessary.
Right.
Even if you're the listener, you should be willing to listen. And I think by us being, in the entire world, I mean, we're all affected through import, export, businesses, through local retail, families. It just, everybody's affected by it. And I think that we should collectively have the conversation, move forward with the CDC guidelines and restrictions, and more importantly, do your research.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, do the research. But I think when this thing first hit, and even me, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll be the first to admit it. I didn't take it as serious as they were saying it was.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you're like, they're just perpetuating this kind of negative image, da.
Yeah.
But then, when people close to you start passing away from this thing, is when it hits home. You're like, oh man,
it's really.
And I'm
real.
sure people listening probably have had some loved ones or some friends or even someone that who has passed away from the complications of COVID. And then when that happened, and then when our cousin Kevin passed away from COVID,
right,
and
right,
that's when it really hit home. Like, oh man, this is
this is real.
Yeah, and then people don't know. I mean, Kev was a good dude, man.
Yeah,
He was a good dude.
Optimistic.
He just was a good guy, man.
Yeah, he was.
He was a good dude. He was just,
Yeah.
I ran into his wife a couple of weeks ago, and and I gave her some love and told her we praying for her, and I told her that I loved her, and she's still in a bad place.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be good.
Shout out to Kiyoki.
Yeah. If you
and the
listening,
girls.
Yeah.
We
love you guys.
Yeah.
And keep your head up.
Yeah.
I know it looks like it's dark right now, but it's gonna get some light.
Yeah.
But so back to what I'm saying, that's when you start to say, oh man, this thing is really real. When someone close to you passed away from it, you start saying, oh man, I guess this thing is real, and also people had those pre-existing conditions already. It didn't help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's, and it's powerful that we can sit here and talk about it, because so many people, they talk around it.
Yeah.
However, and then some of them, they're politically correct, meaning they'll spew out the logistics of what CDC says, how to stay away from it, how to prevent it, how to stop spreading it.
Right.
I get that part. But we really need to talk about the dynamics of it. Man, a lot of people, depression has gone up.
Oh, man.
Suicide has gone up.
Yeah.
Drinking and addiction, from
yeah.
drugs to alcohol. All of that, man.
People have gained weight. I know I've gained weight.
Gained weight.
I think a lot of people viewing have probably put on a few COVID pounds as well. No, really, because it's actually put you in a place where it sat you down. It sat you down at home.
Yeah.
You're not doing a lot of moving. The people, you're working from your computer, sitting down. And when you're at home,
snacking.
When you're at home, you run back and forth to the refrigerator.
You're snacking.
Even though if you're not
out
hungry,
of boredom.
It's that idle time. You're like, man, I just ate breakfast. And you're in the refrigerator just looking. You're just in there look.
What can I make? What can I eat?
You just looking and it's
No,
like,
right.
okay, dude, you just ate. What are you doing?
Right. No.
So it's created a lot of uncomfortable cases in our lives that it's made us have to change.
Yeah.
And it's changed us for the better and some for the worse. Like you said, the depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing that's really significant too is, I mean, you and I, we've always had a small circle. I wouldn't even call it a circle because it just wasn't even that many people.
Right.
But looking at this scenario and hearing a few conversations, even the friendships are just whack. It's almost like you can't call and say hello.
Yeah.
You can't check on a brother. It's almost like the people that you would think were friends or close to you, it's almost like it's just dissipated.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow, it's almost like that, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
And that ties into some of the worry, the concern, the depression, because people who were considered to be friends haven't shown themselves to be friendly at all.
Right.
And it's crazy how they'll still try to abstract things from you to benefit from, but they'll never include you in anything that they have going.
Yeah.
So, me personally, I just assessed it and said, hey, this is what it is. So you stay over there,
and I'm gonna stay over here.
and I'm gonna stay over here.
Yeah.
So another great topic. I don't know if you have some closing remarks about the pandemic and where we are. I think you spoke to some real intelligent things when you talked about how we can reinvent ourselves with the economic downturn, and then how we can deal with the depression of this entire situation, because man, it hurt churches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In a big way.
It really did.
And
it really did.
And what I saw in the beginning was, and I'm always comfortable in my skin, but I saw a dynamic change.
Oh, yeah.
That was
it for the good or was it for the dramatic? What do you
it
think?
Was, to me, it was like seeing the impact of pandemic with the churches.
Okay.
Was something that kind of was confirmed for me from many years ago, meaning this. And to each his own. But those persons who looked at it as entertainment, and was jumping around and holding their ear and that entertainment part, that's out of the window.
Right.
Because now you got to teach.
Now you got to reinvent yourself.
You got to teach.
If you can.
If you can.
If it was in you.
If it was in you.
Right.
Now you have to teach, and you have to be touchable.
You have to be transparent as well.
Exactly.
I know, I get it.
Exactly.
I see where you're going with this.
So now I'm looking at it like, really, you can separate the real from the fake.
Right.
And what happened was, now not many people are on this so-called circuit.
Right.
See, we called it, just like the world would call it, we were on a circuit.
Of course.
Traveling evangelists.
Yeah.
You got pastors who pastor people,
It goes back
but was on the road.
It goes back 100 years when they called it the Chitlin Circuit, when the black artists used to have to go around in all the southern in the Bible Belt.
Exactly.
And they called it the Chitlin Circuit because it was all black.
It was all black.
Yeah.
That was your audience.
That was your audience.
You know, but so yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see people just try to create something from nothing because they was like patching and putting things together to keep their thing going.
Yeah, of course.
But you couldn't.
Yeah.
You couldn't just. In other words, no more gimmicks.
Yeah. And then and you're right. And then all that was cut 90%.
Yes.
You know, now you had a 10% audience.
Yes.
And not a 90% audience. I never thought about that. Churches really did take a hit.
A big hit.
A big, gigantic hit.
And the loyalty has been tested.
Oh, definitely.
The true loyalty has
Definitely.
been tested because
Definitely.
now you got empty buildings with a mortgage.
You got a lot of
So
empty
those
buildings.
that were coming and going as it related to being entertained or whatever reason, because of tradition or commitment, those commitments slowly started to change because now you got a smorgasbord on TV.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you something. It's so funny that we're talking about this because it made me think about something. And it goes back to when I was telling you how, because basically we're talking about a lot of the black congregation in terms of churches. But it goes back to what I was saying about how when somebody gets theirs and they don't help the fellow, and it's the crab in the bucket
mentality. Yeah.
See, just like the country has bailed out a lot of these small businesses or whatever, why didn't you bail out the churches?
Nobody bailed out the
I
churches.
never thought about that.
Nobody.
Why didn't you bail out? Why didn't you set aside a packet and a certain amount for the churches like you did a lot of these other things? Because, church is real.
Well, I think you're right. You're absolutely
I never
right.
thought about that. Why didn't they do? Why didn't they? Why? But what I'm saying is, the congregation was supposed to step up to the mic and say, "Hey, we hurting too." So when you guys are handing out them little packages, make sure you include the congregations in these churches because I didn't think about, like you said, they've suffered.
Well, what they did was the government created that loan. It was like a PPP.
Yeah, but not everybody's going to qualify for that loan.
Exactly, and not everybody knows how to even
apply for that loan.
it, right? So then what the twist was with that was you had a lot of imposters. That was actually it was fraud.
Oh yeah.
They was getting the money,
going
saying
to buy
that their
Bentleys.
businesses exactly
going to buy Bentleys
over there in Dubai and all those places.
You're right.
And it hurt the legitimate businesses and churches
that really needed
it.
And they made the criteria now even tougher.
Man, I was in a process initially, and when they wanted me to claim a certain amount of income in order to receive a certain amount of money through the loan, that was unethical.
Yeah,
I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I had to just back out of it because what they were saying how I needed to meet the criteria, it was fraudulent.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't going to put myself in that position to risk jail time.
Oh, because you're going to jail.
You're going to jail.
You gonna go jail.
and then I didn't want to, create something within God's people that proved to be unethical.
Right.
But I say all that to say that there are some positives to come out of this 1 year experience moving forward. Yeah. And I just kind of look forward to, like you said, reinventing myself and trying to be as creative to tunnel through. Because at the end of the day, as a man of faith, my reliance is in God. My reliance is in the ability that He's given to me.
Right.
And then I have a part to do. Like you said before, nothing's just going to fall out of the sky. He said that these earthen vessels are within us.
Yeah.
So, all the ability and the talent and the giftings is right here, you know, in us. So
You just gotta get out there and
Yeah.
utilize it.
yeah. So, man, another great topic. You know, being a year into this pandemic, thanks to, you know, all you viewers and followers. I just want to say before I give it to Charlie Mack to close this out, like, share, subscribe, because without your following, you know, we're just sort of spinning our wheels. And I hope you're enjoying the content. And to our sponsors, the Coalesce Group and Fruit Off the Vine Clothing Apparel, we thank you for allowing us to attach our name to your brand. And it is a pleasure to be in relationship with you. And so I'm going to throw it to Charlie Mack, and then we're going to get ready to get out of here.
Thank you guys for listening and tuning in. Just to piggyback on what my brother said, you know, if you guys know someone who can relate to what we're talking about, and you know, some of these topics may be directed straight at you. You may say, "Wow, they talking to me."
Yeah.
You know, like our content, guys, share it, and we're gonna continue to bring you guys positive feedback and positive thoughts coming straight from the heart. So we don't own the rights to this music, but we sure gonna listen to it. And thank you guys for tuning in. Take the seatbelts off. Ride is over, guys. Peace and love.
Peace.